Casey Stoner is a two-time Moto GP world champion, recently inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame as a Moto GP legend. The Australian is arguably the most naturally gifted motorcycle racer in history, and at the age of 27, he is still at the peak of his powers. Yet at the 2012 Valencian Grand Prix in Spain, he turned the page on his two-wheeled career with a 69th podium finish. It came just days after he was worshipped by tens of thousands of loyal Aussie fans following a 6th consecutive victory at his home race in Phillip Island. Alongside wife Adriana and young daughter Alessandra, Stoner has decided to pursue other avenues in his life, ones which will likely take him back to his roots in Australia.
I was in the press conference in Le Mans and have a lot of rumor about this, but I never trust. I say, it's just rumors.
Basically, this has come after a long time of thinking, a lot of time talking with my family and my wife. And, you know, this has been coming for a couple of years now, but at the end of this 2012 season, I will be not racing in the 2013 championship. I will be finishing my career at the end of this season in MotoGP and go forward in different things in my life.
For me, it was a surprise.
For me, if you are not comfortable in what you are doing and you have been at least twice world champions at this moment, I fully understand his decision.
I was not surprised. I knew always Casey had a particular feeling on these things.
You know, it's been a decade or 10 or 11 years, I don't know exactly what it is, but, you know, he's tired.
I'm not sure how much I'm gonna miss Casey to be on track, but because he's really good.
Here comes Casey Stoner. He's the fastest rider on the circuit.
Because this is absolutely superb stuff.
They fan out across the track once more, down towards Drysack, and it's Stoner who goes through into the lead.
Casey Stoner is going to win the Spanish Grand Prix. We come through, and he's through at the Honda Hyder, in fact, flat out in 6th gear. He's finally decided to make his move. Casey Stoner has taken full advantage here at Assen and wins the TT.
Here comes Stoner now, through he goes, into turn 3, Casey Stoner. He's going to be alongside him down the straight. He's going to try in turn 1 again. He's only gone and done it. Amazing.
Wow. Casey Stoner's 4th Grand Prix victory of the season.
Despite bravely battling to 4th place with a severely damaged right ankle, Casey's aspirations of reclaiming one final title were over. Forced to pull out, he was not going to be able to celebrate the fairy tale ending that his rocky road to glory had deserved. 27 years earlier, Casey had been born into a family of racing enthusiasts. Parents Colin and Bronwyn and elder sister Kelly all enjoyed their motorsports, and even from an extremely young age, this all-Australian country kid was set on his path to two-wheel success.
I learned to ride in the backyard like anyone else, you know, riding around the grass, making different tracks, all the rest of it. You know, I think it was those younger years that My dad and even my sister raced when I was very young, and just being around it made me want to do it so much more. So it just sparked that, and yeah, never wanted to stop.
I've had an association with racing for a long time, and it's always been my passion, and I guess a family passion, if you like. So when Casey came along, his sister was already racing, and it was just one of those things, a natural progression for him. The first time he actually stepped on a bike was probably a little three-wheel thing, and which is at a very young age, I think, before he could even, well, it was before he could walk, and he could do amazing things on that. So when he was about 4.5, we took him to a place where he was allowed to race, and basically put him on a bike, and off he went.
From that moment, you know, first race meeting, I was just hooked. You know, I guess competitive edge came out in me, and all I wanted to do was go around and try and beat everybody else out on track. So I can't remember, I think it was somewhere around 41 or 42 Australian titles, and I can't remember state championships, things like that, but we ended up having over 1,000 trophies. My years racing dirt track were vital and very important to where I got today. The decision to come overseas was not taken lightly. It probably took us a good part of a year to decide where to go. Through my grandparents, who are British, we were able to get, you know, my father was able to get a British passport, and then we were right of abode. So we had a little bit of family over there that helped us in the first couple of weeks, somewhere to stay, and so we just decided to take the British Championship route.
We moved over there in the middle of winter, from middle of Australian summer. So it was a bit of a shock to the system, and living in a caravan over there in the Lake District, or close to Southport, we weren't there. Yeah, so it was interesting, but we had a great time.
Well, the first memory I have of Casey, actually, before I met him, was we were at Donington Park. It was the Aprilia Super Team Challenge back in 2000, I think. And I was the favourite for the championship that year, and honestly there was me and a couple of others who I thought were going to be quick, and then Casey shows up, obviously didn't know anything about him and didn't even know he was coming until I was catching this guy on track. Like, he had some mustard yellow leathers, and I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, but I'm definitely not catching him quick enough.
At that time I was doing this job for Dorna, taking care of young riders. They were searching and they said, listen, there's an Australian guy racing in England, and yeah, it could be interesting.
I remember it was in Albacete in 2000. We were racing the Spanish Championship, and it was the last two races of the championship, and he came for the last two, and yeah, pretty impressive from the start.
I saw one little kid with a blue bike passing in some fast corner, Albacete, and he was completely out of control, like the bike moving, but he remains full throttle. And we were impressed about this action from him.
I was talking to them, I said, listen, I think your boy has a high chance, high potential.
Alberto walked out to me and said, who is this boy? And in typical Alberto style, and said, I want him to race for me next year in the Spanish Championships.
He came to Spain and he was super fast initially. Not so much experience. We gave him a good bike, and yeah, we put him a good package there. And we finally could not win the title because we had some problems in some races, but he was the fastest rider out there for sure.
From there, Alberto, you know, took us on. You know, slowly learnt throughout that year the Spanish Championship. Won a few races and you know, got ourselves up the front. So it was that year that we did British and Spanish Championship was really made or broke my career in those early years. And you know, we did a great job in both, finished second in both. We missed 5 rounds, I think, of the British Championship to compete in the Spanish. But both of those were really, really good and very crucial to get the time in.
Because they decided to race here in Spain, I proposed them to stay here in this environment, which is my father's house.
Alberto's father, he used to come out and water the lawn every morning and turn the sprinklers on, and if give us all a good hosing if we went the road. But he, yeah, absolutely fantastic people, and looked after us so well. And we certainly would have. It would have been a lot harder to survive if we hadn't had support like that.
Año y medio más o menos, o casi dos, que estuvo Casey aquí. Esto vino porque Alberto conectó con el padre o con él, no lo sé. Y total que le vinieron aquí con el motorhome. Y luego vino un segundo motorhome y estuvieron aquí viviendo en el jardín de aquí frente del garaje durante ese año y medio. Y muy buenas personas, muy simpáticos, muy educados.
It was nice to actually have somewhere to go and a little room to sort of spread your wings. There was a motocross bike I could use occasionally, and you know, that sort of really helped us through that stage of our life. Alberto was a huge influence and a huge part of us arriving to where we are today. You know, a lot of people respected his opinion.
I remember after that year, I went one day to Carmelo. Hey, listen, this guy is super good in my opinion. And after this year, racing in Spain with the 125 Telefonica, you must help him to go to the Moto GP Championship.
He talked with Alberto Puig, and Alberto said, yes, no problem, this kid will be fast anyway. He will surprise everybody even in 250 machine, and there is no problem, you know. He wanted to discover his limit as fast as possible, and after some big crash in the first part of the season, then he really did a very good job already in his first year in the World Grand Prix in 250 category.
He made mistakes, but he learned from his mistakes, and he was always prepared to push the limit, where other people aren't prepared to push the limit.
He was a child, and he was a little bit lost, but he was really sure of himself.
Yeah, in the last two laps, I think maybe I can win, but Alex in the last corner comes underneath me and I struggle to get second place, but I'm happy. I'm a little disappointed because I know that if I was in full health, then I had a much better chance of winning the race. I think I just need a little bit more speed so I could be close to the braking mark in the last couple of laps. So a little bit disappointed again.
But victory for the first time this season for Casey Stoner in the final race of the year. At last he's done it.
For sure KTM was a very competitive bike in that period. Also he had a good offer with a good plan for the future. together with his father, we decided it was good for him.
But in 2004, he was with KTM, and I was still with Derby, my last year in 125, and we were fighting a lot of races for the victory.
Together with the young Beethoven, we offered him the possibility to join back LCR with Aprilia 250 factory, and he definitely accepted, and yes, we started again.
When you are talking about this, you are talking of, in my opinion, the most talented riders that have been in the last years, no? Which is Casey and Danny, or Danny and Casey. Every race weekend was tough.
En un principio ese título iba a ser un paseo triunfal para Dani Pedrosa hacia su segundo campeonato consecutivo en 2,5 y emergió la figura de Casey Stoner, un piloto capaz de todo en ese momento. De hecho ya se le empezó a llamar también Rolling Stoner, ¿no? Por la facilidad que tenía para irse al suelo, pero al mismo tiempo tenía una facilidad increíble para ganar carreras cuando nadie contaba con él, ¿no?
At the beginning, he was kind of the guy that used to crash and used to go very fast, but at the same time not to finish races. And by that time, he started to understand to finish races was more important, you know, and then it's when he stepped it up a little bit and became even more rival for the championship.
Y recuerdo que le hizo sufrir a Pedrosa más de lo esperado en un principio. Al final, una caída suya en Australia facilitó que Dani fuera campeón con varias carreras de antelación.
Casey Stoner has crashed out of his home Grand Prix. Danny Pedrosa has gone flying.
We did all we could. We made a mistake in Phillip Island, which lost us the championship. But again, we proved what we could do. Won a lot of races that year, and you know, had a fantastic battle with Danny. So it was that really paved our way for our opportunity in Moto GP. I don't think anybody was really looking at us or paying any attention before that.
Casey had a good offer from Honda Pons to move to MotoGP. In that period also we analyzed the possibility. We tried our best to set up a MotoGP team for him. Honda gave us a big help, and then everything was set up for the 2006 season.
We're in Jerez for round one of the Moto GP World Championship. Have a look out for Casey Stoner. Casey Stoner has taken 6th place from Shinya Nakano.
Someone that I was supposed to be travelling with, that they'd put 2 of our boarding passes together, had disappeared on his own private flight and taken all the tickets with him. So there was no existence of me on the file. So I had to wait for the next flight, which was the next morning, after our flight's already been delayed 24 hours. We got there, and then I had to be delayed again another 12 hours. And by the time I got to the track, it was 10 minutes before the session. So we jumped in the letters straight away, straight out on the bike, and we were quickest in that session. expect to be up here for at least a couple of years, you know, in the Moto GP class. But all weekend, you know, the teams work perfectly, and we've had a really good setting. So it was just a matter of putting a qualifying tyre in, and you know, we managed to pull off a pretty good lap.
Turkey, he was leading the last lap, but just in the last corner, Melandri had a little bit more experience, and over to him. But anyway, for us, for the team to finish on the podium, so our in the championship was very good. At the end, was the expectation we had on the beginning. We saw it was true.
In Le Mans 2006, his first year in MotoGP, they changed the circuit, they changed the first corner, and Casey was never one for going around the circuit on a Thursday. He'll see the track when he gets out on the first lap on the bike on Friday. And I told him on Thursday that, yeah, that first corner looks easy, the new first corner looks easy. I said it'd be pinned easy. And obviously I didn't think he'd take it seriously. I came into the pit garage Friday morning when MotoGP had just started, looked up at the screen, and first thing I see is Casey going across the gravel at about 300k an hour, the bike swapping ends. I'm like, oh my God, he's tried it. Next thing, he bunny hops the curb the other side. I couldn't believe it. And at the end of the session, I said, oh, you actually tried it.
He always wants to find the limit, and many times he passed the limit. This was a problem, and many times he said, okay, I crashed, but I don't know why, because I didn't get any hour before crash. But he keeps pushing until the end. So it was not only to have the first crash and said, okay, this is, I have no information from the tire, so I will keep safe. No, he pushing and pushing and pushing, and then start to have many crashes.
Just prior to making the decision to go to Ducati, there'd been a lot of discussion with Yamaha, and we'd actually made a decision to go to Yamaha. And during that time, there was a couple of requests we had that they would be part of the same garage as Valentino, and that was basically knocked back. So when that was knocked back, the contract was taken from the table, and we marched over to Ducati and said, right, we're ready to go.
At that time, there was the Honda 1000. That was probably a perfect machine, developed after 5 years or something. The Ducati 800 was a brand new bike with a totally different engine, much more picky. So Casey's first test on the bike was not like, wow, I'm so happy. It probably was different. But already in Qatar test before the race, it was clear that it was a good combination.
We already knew he was unbelievable fast in that track because we did a race simulation, I think 16 consecutive chronos during the test, 2 weeks before or 1 week before, and he was really, really fast. But, you know, the race is the race, so nobody expect he can keep going like this, and in the race he did something unbelievable.
At that age, we had a big advantage in top speed, especially comparing Yamaha. And so all these things maybe could help him, but for sure his talent was the main reason why we won so much.
thought that, okay, with maybe Yamaha is a little bit behind with the development of the new machine, but Casey is very fast on this circuit. Last year as a rookie was in pole position here, so, you know, it was really too early to start thinking about the championship.
Can't really say much else, you know. Ducati's been perfect. You know, we've had a couple of problems over the weekend, but they've all been resolved, and you know, the whole team's just working great for me. You know, Bridgestone tyres to do the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. You know, they've got to be pretty damn good. So I'm very happy with the way things are going for me.
Barcelona was a very difficult track for Bridgestone, in a circuit where also the year after was difficult to and impossible to think about the podium, not the victory. Casey won.
He was glued to Valentino, and the last lap was really something I will never forget.
Rossi up the inside, round the right-hander. That's an incredible overtaking manoeuvre from Valentino Rossi. The race of the season, perhaps even the race of the decade.
You always remember great races, don't you? And this was an unbelievable race. And what a delight to commentate on. Thank you, Casey.
21-year-old Australian riding the race of his life. Casey Stoner wins the Grand Prix of Catalunya. What a race!
It was an awesome race. It was very fun, and definitely a lot of overtaking manoeuvres.
Until Misano, I didn't believe it was so easy. Then in Misano, Valentino had the problem with the engine and Casey won the race. Then the gap, I don't remember the point, but the gap was big enough with the races remain that was, okay, it's a question of where.
Casey Stoner could clinch the world title here in Japan. And a rare smile from Casey Stoner. Had a real tough time in qualifying. Casey Stoner's mum and dad are there. Colin and Bronwyn, that's his trainer in the middle. What a day for the Stoner family from New South Wales. They could be celebrating another world title for Australia.
We don't realize that day what we have done. You need sometimes to understand better.
We could win when we wanted to win, but we had to manage those times when the bike and everything just really wasn't working on the weekend. So we did that as best we could. Ducati showed, you know, perfect reliability, so we didn't, you know, give away too many points in that way. And you know, managed to pull through at the end of the season, but it was really a fantastic time to do it with Ducati, with a brand of bike that wasn't expected to fight for the championship, with a brand of tyre that wasn't expected to fight for the championship, after Michelin had dominated for so many years. And you know, it actually felt really nice, even to this day, to actually pave the way for Bridgestone to where they are now. I think is a lot to do with myself and, you know, my team doing the job that we did.
彼と、ドゥカティの速さが非常に際立った年でしたし、我々も一生懸命いいタイヤを開発して、みんなで、取れたタイトルだと思います。幸いにも茂木の日本グランプリで、タイトルを決めることができまして、本当に我々としてはですね、ケイシーのことは、忘れることはできない、日本グランプリの一瞬は非常に印象的でした。
Casey win the title here in Motegi, and I win the race, and for sure I can enjoy on this party.
Loris Capirossi looks frontwards. The checkered flag beckons. Loris Capirossi wins the Japanese Grand Prix. Casey Stoner looks behind him. Casey Stoner is the 2007 MotoGP World Champion.
I think in the recent history of motorcycle, nobody was able to do something like that. It was a win of new things, because the first time for Casey, first time for Bridgestone, first time for Ducati. So I think a win of ideas, you know?
Also was very important that European brand was winning the championship since until many years after the last victory of MV Augusta. Then this was really amazing. It was very good, and without the talent of Casey, this was not possible. Incredibly different motorcycle to race, and looking back, it was a vintage year, absolutely vintage year. And I don't think Casey is won world title since, but I think that was a year that we were all really remembering for.
For Casey to turn up on a Ducati, which it was well known to be difficult to ride, and just to make it look like it was easy, really kind of had myself and a lot of people asking the questions, has the previous riders not been good, or is Casey really special? And I mean, as that story's unfolded, we can now say that he's been very special and a very unique talent.
Going there as champion and you know, having the amount of people that we did there was fantastic, and the amount of people below the podium after we won that race was just awesome. So I had an absolute ball that day. We ended up putting together, you know, a season that we never could have dreamed of, and especially in our second season in the class we wanted to be in. And you know, it's still a little bit hard now to look back and, you know, sort of have to pinch yourself and realise that it did happen.
What a homecoming for Casey Stoner. He has won the Australian Grand Prix here at Phillip Island.
In 2008 was hard, but still he was winning a lot of race, and all the others grow up, and for sure was more difficult to fight for the victory.
2008, Stoner picked up where he had left off a year previously by winning the opening round in Qatar. Stoner had then gone 6 races without a win, but came back to win 3 in a row at Donington Park, Assen and Sachsenring. Stoner was back in the title hunt before the series moved on to the USA.
We arrived in Laguna Seca with the Casey that came from 3 wins in a row, and in Laguna was 1 second faster than anybody else, so looks like, okay, we can catch up on Valentino.
Casey Stoner, and Rossi comes straight back at the corkscrew. We haven't seen action like this as Rossi runs off track and pushes Stoner wide. What amazing stuff here. Valentino Rossi and Casey Stoner duking out. They're doing so in the championship, and Stoner almost tries to go around the outside at turn 10. This is unbelievable stuff. Going to run it wide and onto the gravel. That could be the end of the race. He's gone down. Casey Stoner has gone down. Well, that is the end of the American Grand Prix.
Valentino is a master of getting into people's heads and winding them up, and there were lots of things, not just the pass in the corkscrew, but there were a lot of things about that race that infuriated Casey. And I think it distracted him. I think for a few races after Laguna, we saw some more mistakes from Casey that suggested that he was distracted and he was feeling the pressure. And that was classic Valentino Rossi, I guess.
The crashes meant he wouldn't retain his title, and the problems continued into 2009. But this time, they were physical.
I think the first issue really came at Mugello, and he looked particularly ill, and I know he was vomiting his helmet and feeling quite ill and didn't do so well. And then again at Barcelona.
I was completely destroyed in those races. I couldn't hold onto the bike, I couldn't brake, I couldn't do anything. I was completely destroyed after 3-4 laps, and you know, I still had 20 laps to go. And to be honest, the reason I stopped was because I was getting dangerous.
The fatigue issues got so bad that Stoner was forced to take 3 races out to try and decipher what was affecting him.
It was a fascinating part of the championship because nobody really understood what was going on. I mean, there was rumours at some point that Casey wasn't even going to come back.
He didn't take care enough of a small problem. This problem became bigger and bigger. His health started to go down, and so at the end he paid for this.
All the exams we did in Europe, it looks like there was nothing wrong. Still, Casey was very sick. And then you start thinking and hearing about many things, and you know, it's very difficult to find somebody in which you trust. And being Casey Australian, of course, it increased the problem because, you know, Australian guys believe a lot in their system, in their medicine, in their doctor. This is normal.
At Estoril, Stoner came back after a diagnosis of lactose intolerance, and this seemed to be the key.
I was very happy when Casey came back in Estoril. He finished on the podium and then won in Sepang and in Phillip Island. It proved that the move was difficult, but the right one. So it's been a difficult time, but at the end of the day, I think we did the right one.
So sure we worked, but the problem was still there. We tried to reduce it by the setting. The rider did a big effort, but every time Casey just tried to stay on the top. Many times he closed the front and crashed.
These front-end problems were clear right from the very first race in Qatar, and they caused frustration across the board, as Stoner was clearly unable to challenge regularly enough for victory.
The relationship between Casey and Ducati was broken before. It was not 2010 that created the problem, it was before. Casey was not happy the way Ducati managed the situation, and that's, you know, something that happened.
It's when even the people from the factory that I was riding for were doubting it, and they weren't supporting me, they weren't being there for me. That's when it really shocked me and surprised me that after all these years and all the things we've done together, in a strange way, that was the starting point for where we are now, and towards the end of my career.
Like Ducatista, I was sorry for that, but because I like Casey a lot, I think he had the chance to win 2 championships, one with us and the other with Honda. So he has different, so yeah, it's something he deserves.
2009年シーズンに、私 F1 から戻ってきましてね、それで最初のレース、テストレースで見た時にすごいライダーがいるなと。でぜひホンダに欲しいなと。コースサイドで走りを見た時になんとなく感じるものがあってね。でなんて言ったらいいのかよくわからないんだけど、こいつだっていうそういう感じでしたね。
Day 1 in Valencia was the fastest Honda on track, second behind Jorge day 1, and fastest overall day 2. So it was really an unbelievable debut.
I think I was the first guy to advise Honda in 2006 that they should sign Casey Stoner because he was very fast, He came and he did the job and he won the title.
Casey Stoner against the demon starter, Danny Pedrosa, in the middle of that front row. The world champion, #1, Jorge Lorenzo on the outside. Racing gets underway, 2011.
Casey Stoner rounds this. Will it be all changed at Jerez? He loves this Qatar circuit, and he's back to take another victory, the one he should have taken 1 year ago.
Sure, in 2007 was for many people a surprise. In 2011 would have been a surprise if he didn't win Qatar.
coming for Ross is in the mood. Ross is in the mood.
He's going to go through very late, and he's taken down Stoner. That's silly. Valentino Rossi attacked from a long way back, and he's taken out.
History goes, Valentino and Casey, like it or not, are linked somehow. And yeah, sure, it was a big shock.
Things that in the race always happen, and after the race I want to go to him because I did a mistake, but what he said to me I don't like very much.
Hey, how's the shoulder? It's okay? It's okay? You have some problem with the shoulder? I make a mistake. Yeah. Obviously your ambition outweighed the talent. Ambition was more than the talent. No problem.
He knew from that point on he cannot do one single mistake.
A brilliant victory in treacherous conditions at Silverstone was crucial, as Stoner finally took the lead in the World Championship after his main rivals all suffered.
I've never seen anybody ride in the wet like that. I thought his performance at Silverstone in those conditions was quite unbelievable.
That race was unbelievable, good race, but not so special. I think the most special race of last year was Laguna, where in the practice was struggling and in the race was very, very good.
Okay. Sure, it's not correct. Huh? I don't know if the foot take is a little bit more spread or something.
Until the end of qualified practice, we were back half a second. So as we did in 2007 in Barcelona, we had to change something big to make a big step forward. And at the end, Casey did it in the warm-up and surprised everything again. And for me, for the other rider, this kind of surprise was not so good. They didn't appreciate so much. And so, in the race, he managed everything until 8, 9 laps to the end, and then when he decided was the right time to go in 3 laps, he finished the race. He finished the other 2 riders because he overtook both in 2 laps, and then in, I think, 2 laps, 1.5 second advantage, so it's something great, no? You destroy the mentality of the other.
I think in many ways he sort of erased the memories of losing out to Valentino Rossi.
Stoner then headed to his home race where he had won for the previous 4 years with just an outside chance of the title. That was until the morning warm-up.
Oh, big moment for Lorenzo.
Lorenzo goes down. Well, this could be crucial.
There's no way, you know, really going into it that I thought I could win the championship, and unfortunately Jorge crashed in the morning and hurt himself, and you know, that you know, left the door open for me to clinch it that day, you know, with a result that I didn't really you know, need to get. I didn't need to win the race to win it. You know, the way everything came in line on that one particular day was quite something. I don't think anyone else in their career can ever, you know, have so many things happen in one particular day.
Casey Stoner wins the Australian Grand Prix and is crowned the 2011 World Champion.
It was a great day for everybody, for him for first, I think after many years pushing so hard, when confirmed to be a champion at home with all the fans, and in his birthday day, I think was great for him and for all the rest of the team.
Well done, well done.
いろんな人にいろんなチャンスがあると思うけど、なんていうかな、ケイシーは速いしね、すごくストロングなんだけど、なんか持ってるなっていう感じがしましたね。でもチャンピオンをまず間違いなく取れるだろうと思いながら、実際にこうそのチャンピオンになりましたってなんとその現実になった時っていうのはやっぱりなんか嬉しいっていうよりもなんかホッとしたっていう感じがしましたね。
It is an immense feeling to do it here in front of your home crowd, even though you try and play it down. You know, everyone loves to do well in front of their home crowd, but to secure everything and as you say, even on your birthday, you know, there's no better birthday cake than that, is there?
It was just, you know, the dream come true. That was our perfect season.
It's round 11 of the Moto GP World Championship. We're at Indianapolis. Casey Stoner starts from the second row of the grid despite those fractured bones and ligament damage to his right ankle. The lights will go to red and racing is underway now. You would imagine the pain is just throbbing through that injured ankle now. And the bravery award of the day, without a shadow of a doubt, goes to Casey Stoner.
Look at that round of applause for Casey Stoner. He is absolutely exhausted and he just almost collapses on top of the bike as he comes back in there. He will have been biting down on his tongue, on his teeth. He will be in agony.
The worst thing to do would be to keep going on it, keep riding with it. And the best thing to do would be to get back and have surgery as soon as possible. So that gives us the quickest recovery rate before the end of the season, and hopefully we can get back.
Io non parlo di eventuale vittoria Phillip Island, parlo di sicura vittoria Phillip Island.
That'll be the legend. If he goes undefeated, if he's 6 consecutive victories in Phillip Island, he'll be Mr. Phillip Island.
I think one last win at Phillip Island will be the perfect way to end his career for him.
Victory in Australia is going to be quite tough. You know, we've come back prematurely with this ankle.
Tough maybe, but there was only one thing the adoring Aussie public had in mind as record crowds flocked down to the island to see off their hero.
I learn a lot more than from him that he learned from me, you know? And so for me, it's an unbelievable period of my life.
One of the most exciting motorcycle races I've ever been privileged to watch.
I'm very proud to have been able to be so close to him. I hope I did something good for his career because he deserved it. And he's a guy that will remain always in my heart, for sure.
He have a different riding style compared to the others, and is one of the first of the next level. You know what they say is the next riding style.
2 world titles is a lot more than anybody ever achieves. So I think he'd have to be extremely happy with his place in motorcycle history, and can rest easy at night knowing that he was one of the fastest ever.
We'll remember him as a pure talent, a rider who loved to open the throttle and to control the bike. And he only think about riding.